What is up, and welcome back to Talking Nutrition. Today we are back with another bonus episode. We're going to break down the 3 Q&A sessions we did during a mini challenge we did with our free community. If you are not a member yet, you can dive in. I'll drop the link in the show notes. It's a free Facebook group. We want to drop a bunch of stuff in there for your resources, mini trainings, a lot of cool stuff, and of course the challenges. You'll be the first to know if we are launching any events, webinars, and all that good stuff. So go ahead. In the show notes, you'll find that link to our Facebook group, a couple questions, no strings attached. It's really just extra help because, once again, we kind of know that nutrition gets a little overwhelming, and especially when it comes to training, there's so many different opinions, and there's mindset work, which is really the foundation, right? So we're going to dive in for the next 6 Thursdays in a row. We'll be breaking down the Q&As, starting with 2 episodes on nutrition, then 2 about training, and then 2 on all things mindset. Enjoy. And we are recording. What is up? Round 2. Second Q&A call already. Let me see real quick the Q&A to training, but we'll also be speaking to like general movement. I think training is only one aspect, of course, being healthy, being fit. And I sometimes even think that as much as exercise, I mean, you'll hear me talk about this all the time. We got to lift weights to build that muscle, right? We got to do some cardio to obviously build that cardiovascular system. Super important for long-term health, just living longer, right? But I would almost even say that exercise and training and stuff is almost like not overrated, but it's definitely like focused on way more than general movement, even though that is super, super key as well. So I did want to kind of address steps today as well, because again, it's one of those where we can't just focus on training. That's a long story short. We could work out hard. We could do it all like every single day even. Yet if we're not if we are sedentary, throughout the rest of the day and we basically just sit still all the time, yes, we're still going to get the benefit, but there's a lot of really good research on steps being, very good for you. And I'm saying steps, I'm just meaning like general movement, but like we're supposed to move, we are supposed to move. So today we'll dive into that. Of course, we are going to right away dive into the Q&A. So we have 13 great questions. Let me see real quick. 13, yep, or at least 12. Let me see real quick because one is 2 parts. Perfect, awesome. Yes, we're going to dive in. Let me quickly check as well if I can pull up the leaderboard just so I can see right now, and then we'll dive in because, again, of course, let me see real quick. Technology is always great, but then, yeah, I'm currently unable to see it. We'll get to it again. I had to do a refresh on our platform, and then somehow it's not opening, but that's okay. We still got your points. Like that's all taken care of still. So no worries. I will do an update, and that will be tomorrow then. So diving in, let me share my screen. So with the years, I'm getting more, efficient with Zoom. I feel like there's always like a million buttons, Here we go. Alrighty. So participants can now see your screen. There we go. Number 1 from Daisha. What's up, Daisha? I'm currently in my cut phase. From the beginning, I've always taken a HIIT dance class 2 or 3 times a week. In your opinion, do you think the daily steps average 6K and my high-intensity dance classes are too much during a cut phase if it's something I've always done? I'm working on getting 8K a day. I think both are great. I think, and this even goes to, I've seen a few posts go around these days, which I get it, but I don't love, to where, and you guys might have seen this too, right? Where it's like almost like a meme. It's like, women doing anything but lifting weights. And then you see dance classes and jumping around and on trampolines and those kind of things, which I get from a point of, hey, we're not building muscle there. But then again, like there's a lot to be said for shit you like to do, you know what I mean? And that is why in your case, right, you mentioned, hey, I've always kind of done my HIIT dance classes. If you like that, I think that's great. We're doing physical movement. Like, isn't that a good thing? You know what I mean? So this is where, like, as much as, yes, I get it, where some PTs are, hey, we're not building muscle. That's true, but we still want to be moving. And if we find a sport, something like dancing or whatever it may be, an activity that we enjoy that gets us moving, isn't it even more important, like actually liking the thing that we're doing? Now, I will say this too. Muscle is going to be key. And that goes for everyone, young, old. Everyone should be spending time building muscle. Now, I'll speak more specific to your cut phase in a sec, which is generally speaking, right? If we can build that muscle, We're going to have a faster metabolism. A lot of you are coming to us with fat loss goals, those kind of things. If we have more muscle to show, or if we have more muscle on the body, right, we are going to look more lean as well. Not just that, lifting weights, bone density goes up, right? Super key. If we think of, this is already kind of like in the stuff that I want to mention in the mini training, but like if we think of when we get old, right? Because eventually, like we all do, like I don't care if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever, plus at some point we're going to get to an age where we're going to be more fragile. We might fall. We might break a hip. Those kind of things are real, it's a big risk for people. So that being said, what can we do now? Again, like I don't care if you're in your 20s or whatever, like especially if you're in your 20s because you can build more muscle and you have more time. But what can we do now to set ourselves up for a long, strong life? Being able to run around with the grandkids, go out and hiking and those kind of things. It's yes, doing our cardio, yes, hitting our steps to your point, doing things like maybe your dance classes, but definitely also lifting weights. Now, I really took this question, I just went super general with it. That's my brain, like I go, all over the place. But let me now go back to your question specifically, because I like to give a little bit more context. That's why I do that. But okay, you are currently in a cut phase. Technically speaking, what will be the most important thing for you during a cut? The number one is going to be nutrition. Right? We create a calorie deficit through lowering calories. We of course want to bring up food, food volume, those kind of things, but the calories go down because the deficit is what leads to fat loss. When you increase your steps, daily movement, right, we increase a really big part of your metabolism. If we look at your total daily energy expenditure, 15% is from daily movement. Only 5% is through exercise. So we might have intense exercise, right? Class, 30, 60 minutes, whatever it may be, but it's still a very, very tiny component of the total calories burned on average, right? This is research based, but on average, only 5% of calories burned is from exercise. 10%, so that's double already, is from digestion. So literally just breaking down food. We can kind of influence that by consistently eating like a set schedule of meals. We can do that through a high protein diet, high fiber diet. Generally speaking, right, 10% on average is digestion. 15%, so that's the biggest chunk that we can influence, is your daily movement, which we can count through steps. Doesn't all have to be walking, but just, right, making sure that whatever that tracker is or our phone, whatever it is, it shows, okay, let's go up to 8, 9, 10K steps, for example, because that is such a big part of your caloric burn, you see. Now, I don't think that needs to be the sole reason, but it will help. So I would argue that number one is nutrition. Very close second is going to be your daily step count. And exercise is actually, in my opinion, as much as it does count, it shouldn't be the main focus of fat loss or burning, right? Fitness activities, lifting weights, cardio, whatever you want to call it, right? Dance classes. Those things are going to be great for just general fitness, for maybe a little bit of muscle gain, those kind of things. But that should be the goal. Getting better, moving, right? Progressing. That should be that main focus. It's a long-term investment. And I think there's too much focus, generally speaking, on like burning the calories and those kind of things during those workouts. So again, yes, we want to be doing any kind of exercise, right, for the right reasons. And fat loss typically, I mean, yes, it's going to count a little bit, but it shouldn't be the main focus. And down the road, sometimes we can even create a little bit of an unhealthy relationship with food, with fitness, with exercise. Okay, so daily steps will be more important for you during your cut. If you go from 6 to 8, that is amazing, right? And you can go in small steps. Now, what I'll say too is when I have someone at 6,000 steps, and we have our macro targets, right? So macro targets is food, and then we have the steps to control how much you burn, basically. In a way, we don't know exactly, but that's one metric that we can use. I would always go first from 6,000 to 8,000 steps before further lowering macros. I would then also continue to push for 10,000 as we progressed through the cut so that we can keep food as high as possible. A lot of crash diets and stuff will drastically slash calories, like you go as low as possible, 1,200 calories, whatever it is, right away. And I'm not saying, by the way, that you shouldn't never go on low calories, but if we can keep that food in as much as possible, we tend to do better in the long run. Because if we can have that high output, right, which we can measure through steps, we can get away with more food, and there's more wiggle room then. There's more to pull from. So that being said, I think there's a lot of value to your dance classes. Something you enjoy, get you moving, amazing. What I will say, in the long run, especially, is not necessarily for your cut now, but like once you now start to also introduce weightlifting, that will be a game changer. I can promise you that one. Veronica says, how to start working out again after a long time away from the gym to not get injured. I'm working my way back at the gym after giving birth, and I did not train strength for the last 2 months of pregnancy. My baby is now 6 weeks. First of all, super exciting times, right? Super exciting times. Likely a period where you had to put your own stuff aside, and we know this because we coach together, right? But like put your stuff aside basically for a little bit to then eventually, right, start to work on your own fitness again, maybe a little bit more focused to take care of yourself as well, which is amazing. So first of all, great work of being here, knowing, hey, okay, I'm my pregnancy, right? I want to get back to the gym. You clearly want to make a change here, and that is awesome. So that being said, easing into it is always going to be key. I think we all do this. I know I did, but I think we all do this. We think, okay, I'm ready to go. As soon as I get back to the gym, I'm supposed to be hitting my same numbers as last time. That's not going to be the case. You mentioned injury, right? We want to ease back into it. If we haven't lifted weights for a while, let's acknowledge that and think, okay, let me just go with like a general full body routine, no crazy weights, definitely not trying to like, get a new personal record for your squats and your deadlifts and those kind of things. Really just getting to move. And especially in the beginning, even like a couple times a week, general like weightlifting program, full body goes a very long way. And then once you get back into the routine of doing that, then you can crank it up. Because how to start working out again? First of all, it's just going. You know what I mean? I know that's like a silly answer, but it's true. This time of the year, so many people struggle like getting back into their routines. But the only thing that will get you consistent is actually doing the thing. I think we often tend to over plan, we try to get ready, but it's like the only thing that will actually create momentum is stepping into that gym again. So even if it's once a week, do that. One workout, full body, boom, there you go. And by the way, we do have some general programs, so just hit me up if you need some guidance there. General programs, right? Just getting on something, or there's a bunch of apps out there too, getting on something to then make sure you start with that momentum. If you ease into it, you're likely going to be totally fine. I don't think you need to worry about injury if you don't rush getting back into it. So again, go easy on the reps, go easy on the weights, and also acknowledge that in the beginning, your body is going to need more time to recover compared to maybe what it used to be. So I hope that helps. And of course, super cool that we're working on your fitness while breastfeeding, of course, right? Nutrition is a big part there, but also just staying in physically, well shape, super important too. So let me see real quick. Next one from Sabrina. I up my daily steps to around 15K. That's a lot, but that's impressive, right? If we can do it, amazing. I love that. Let me see real quick. So a few months ago, I can walk during work with my clients. Big plus, right? If we can walk during work, it's going to make things easy. I have a sedentary job, so like I got to make a point of walking, and I know that's a case for a lot of you. From 10K, and honestly, I don't feel a real benefit. That's true. So what I see a difference in is the kettlebell training. There's a big amount of strength and endurance varying on how often I can train. Where is the bigger benefit in your eyes? Movement during the day or training? This kind of goes back to what I was saying in the very beginning, but now the other way around. You know what I mean? It's actually both. It's both. We want to be generally active and we want to train. You see? It's definitely not either or. It's definitely not like black or white, all or nothing, or, where I did say, hey, a lot of people over focus on training with very little on the movement side of things. There is a point where there's no additional benefit other than burning more calories to increasing your steps. And this might even take away sometimes from training. So in that case, I would actually go for more training because I know you like to do your kettlebell training. You can improve strength. And I love that. I think that is going to be a very good one for you. So when it comes to 15,000 steps, other than burning more calories, there does not seem to be a massive benefit um, for health, longevity, those kind of things. And let me see if I included that in the foundations. Maybe some of you have already gone through it. Yes. So I'll jump back into Q&A in a sec. But here we have a graph from a really cool study that looked at the association of all-cause mortality with step count. And that's really just the risk of death of all cause associated with general movement. Now, we see that that risk is very high here with no activity. And of course, no one is like not moving at all, maybe, but you see that it's very high. Once we get to 2000, right, there's a drastic drop, 4,000, 6. But now you see also that around 8, 10,000 steps, this range here, it flattens out. You see? So I would argue that the biggest benefit in terms of longevity, just being healthy in general, right? Right? It kind of flattens out here. So you're gonna be fine with just 10. That's what I'm trying to say. By the way, even 8,000 is amazing. I would say 10 for a cut, but generally speaking, like 8 plus is amazing, That's super good. And that being said, you can push it, but you can have more than 10,000. It just doesn't seem to be even more beneficial other than burning more calories. And hey, maybe if it's in form of like if it's like a walk or something, right? Then great, there's maybe additional stress management where, hey, maybe we do have some time to slow down. But long story short, because I'm already going everywhere again, 15,000, it's fine. If you can do it, amazing. With my clients, like I love a high output with more food coming in. Always. Every single time we've done that, it works better. But of course, if it takes away from time maybe spent lifting weights, doing your kettlebell training, I would actually say, hey, if you're going on walks to hit the 15K and you could do more training with weights at 10K, I would say around 10K, honestly. Or if you can do both, that's cool too. You just have more food to eat then. You know what I mean? Your body will need more fuel. So I hope that helps. Stephanie says, I still struggle with the question of low reps with heavy weights or high reps with lower weights for my training sessions. Should I focus on one or another or shift the focus throughout the week or month? I love that question because I think this is a big one where a lot of people think we need to be doing all the things all the time. But it's one of those where it depends on your goals, depends on periodization maybe. And hey, like what are we trying to get out of training? To put it real long story short, like the higher rep at lower weights, relatively speaking, right, is going to tailor more to muscle growth. So let's say we do a set of 12, 15, even 20 plus, right? But I would say like 12, 15 in general programs, and you add a bit of weight to the bar every single time, you can really build some muscle, right? If I look at my training the last, half year plus, I've been really pushing it. That's been the thing that's led to the muscle growth, right? It's slightly higher reps with maybe like a moderate kind of weight. It's not necessarily like lower weight per se. It's not lightweight, right? It's just lower compared to the strength training, which is the next part. If you want to build strength, and I would argue that like both are very important, right? So you want to actually have a bit of both, just not all the time, every single, block. Then you're likely going to be more around 6 to 8 reps with heavier weight, right? Because now we're doing fewer reps, we can actually push more in terms of the actual load on the bar or dumbbell, whatever. That being said, in terms of what to focus on, that would largely depend on your goals and the season that you are in. And I would say, what is your priority? Do you want to build muscle? Do you want to build strength? Usually you're going to do a bit of both. But what is the main priority? If you want to build more strength and be stronger, it's going to be more 6 to 8 rep work. Lower reps, heavier weights. If you want to focus on building muscle, and sure, you're going to get stronger too, but like with less focus on the strength, you'd be more like 12, 15 kind of reps per set, and then have a little bit lower weights. Make sense? If you want to do both, it'd be different seasons. So I don't think it really would be optimal. It'd be possible to do both, but I don't think it would be optimal to try and do both within the same kind of week or month even. Maybe a bit of both, but not, you can't prioritize two at the same time. That's what I'm trying to say, you know? So what I would say then is have different seasons. Hey, this season, for the next couple of months, let's really push heavier weights. Okay, next couple of months, let's push for muscle growth. And you can even do this with cardio seasons. There's so much, right? Hey, maybe we've been doing a lot of lower intensity cardio. Maybe for the next season, I'm going to do some higher intensity intervals. Hey, maybe I want to build muscle. Okay, I'm going to go to a traditional bodybuilding type of program and do it that way. Make sense? All right, Carolina, what's up? My very first client. She says, I just started getting back into CrossFit again after a long break, and I mostly follow CrossFit's program, CrossFit Gym's program. Exceptions are when there is exercises I can't do to a lack of equipment and I need to do alternatives. Okay, cool. For the best possible outcome of a workout, is it better to train in the morning rather than the evenings? Downside with the mornings, I'm not properly awake, and the downside with the evenings being that the mind has a hard time adjusting after a long day at work. Yep. And how do you change your mindset during a phase where you're building up again from I used to be so much better than this to this, right? Sorry, I used to be so much better than this, sorry, to it's okay not to be where you used to be, you'll get there. I love that. I think that's a big one. Guys, like there's a reason we have the 10 minutes of stillness in this challenge too. Even those little things, even those little thoughts, right? Acknowledging, hey, maybe we're not where we're, where we could be or where we used to be. And that is okay. You can get back there. And I'll say this because this is a very big one, maybe also for Veronica after pregnancy. It is so much easier to get back to where you were than initially building that fitness, building that muscle. So much easier. It's going to take time. It's going to take work. And again, that gradual increase, like that's going to do the thing. But it's so much easier to get back to that compared to the initial, right? Really that hard work to get to that point. Make sense? Um, so first of all, awesome that you're getting back into CrossFit. I mean, that's how we know each other, right? Um, Following that program is also going to be great for you. And you know what? Even if you can't do the exercises due to lack of equipment, if you do an alternative, in your case, it might even be better because you're just getting back into it. So maybe a skilled version, right? Let's say, I don't know, dumbbells instead of barbells or whatever it may be. Cool. Like that's fine. Like just start with that. Um, to the question about in the morning or evening, there's pros and cons to both. And it is largely individual. I can tell you this, if I train in the morning, for me, it just doesn't work because then the rest of the day, especially if it's a lag day, my brain is fried. You know what I mean? Like I like to really push through my training if it's the right season for that, of course. Um, but I know that once I've done that, like I need to be just done for the day, which by the way is after this Q&A, I'm going to go to the gym, just so you know. Now, in the evening, it's not bad per se, but it also depends again, because again, with CrossFit, like it is high intensity training. It's a very, right, stressful type of training and stressful for the body, right? It's going to put you into that fight or flight, which is not bad per se. However, it can keep you up at night. Whether we do our recovering, not in that stress state, we do that in rest and digest. Guys, there's also a reason, right, why we try to focus on stress management so much, because we want to be in what's called a parasympathetic state, rest and digest. That is where you do your repair, your digestion, right, your recovery, sleep, right, of course. And speaking of sleep, when we are in that stress state and cortisol is high, melatonin production, which we need to fall asleep, right, can't really come in. So this, of course, goes into like what time are you training? What are you doing after training to kind of wind down? All those things become more important when you do CrossFit, to where maybe a bodybuilding kind of program will be less, stressful on the system, which is okay on the nervous system, just in general, right? So maybe there would be less of a focus then on like really winding down and making a point of that. Now, the biggest thing I would say is that whatever works, and this is again maybe not an answer like everyone loves to hear, but it's like whatever works best for you. That's the only true answer. If you like working out in the morning and it makes you feel better and you get it done, and awesome. Um, Maybe if we're not properly awake, can we do something beforehand to maybe, right, have a bit of time to kind of wake ourselves up? Could be a walk, could be anything else. Um, if it feels better to do it in the evening, as much as we might be a little fried from work, if you go after work and it allows you to kind of wind down, maybe even not even wind down, but like kind of like shut off from work for the day, get it all out, and then wind down, I should say. That could work great. Um, I don't think either is better or worse. It's really just very individual. And whatever you can stick to long term, whatever makes you feel best, and whatever allows you to get it in, feel good, recover from, right? And then as for the mindset, I think we need to give ourselves some grace every now and then. You'll hear me talk about like pushing quite a bit and taking action and those kind of things. But guys, like we all have lives, you know what I mean? Recently I went through a very difficult time myself, and it's difficult sometimes to really push your fitness side of things then, you know what I mean? Um, but we need to give ourselves a bit of grace too and just acknowledge like, hey, life is seasonal. That goes for your periodization, right? Muscle gain phases, cardio seasons, strength seasons, whatever it may be. Hey, maybe I'm not going to train as much. Guys, summer, right? A lot of people don't train as much. We want to go out hiking, for example, more. Giving ourselves that okay of being like, hey, you know what? Like right now it's just a season where like work's been crazy. I've just been busy. Maybe I just kind of fell off. That's okay. Like, what would you tell your friend? That's maybe a really nice way to reframe this. Again, going back to the 10 minutes of stillness. If we have that 10 minutes of stillness, right? And we can even have this conversation with ourselves, but like, what would I tell my friend? And then I think you will have the answer right there and then, right? You would say the exact same stuff. Give yourself some grace. Understand that, hey, maybe in the past, life was not as busy. We had different responsibilities. We had more time, whatever it might have been, more drive, maybe even, right? Just the fact that you're now getting back into it, I think is most important. So great work for you getting back into it, and know that you will get to that point again. It's okay to not be where you used to be. That's fine. And you know what? If we don't feel great about that, that's also okay. But if we can take that and we use it as fuel to then work hard to get back into that place instead of feeling bad about it, I think that's the biggest one, right? So maybe a nice little exercise to really think about, hey, like actually, right? Visualize this. Like, if this would be my friend X, what would I tell them, right? You'll know.